Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here at the Johnson Space Center. We're excited to be joined by the crew of Expedition 5152, who will be launching to the International Space Station from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan in late March. With us today, we have first-time flyer, NASA astronaut Jack Fischer. He will be the flight engineer for Expeditions 51 and 52. And to his right, we have veteran cosmonaut Fyodor Yurchikhin, who will be the flight engineer for Expedition 51 and the commander for Expedition 52. Jack, can you tell us a little bit about your two expeditions and what you guys are going to do when you're on board?
You bet. And when I was trying to think of what to say, I wanted to talk about an unofficial patch that we came up with. Can't show it to you because it's unofficial, but I can talk to you about the two main things that we were trying to infuse within that patch. It honors the Apollo-Soyuz mission over 40 years ago when they started a legacy of cooperation, international cooperation that has evolved into the International Space Station. Fyodor and I feel extremely lucky to be a part. Boop, boop. I think I'm dead, aren't I?
Talk very loud.
I'll talk loud. We're a part of that tradition, and we're extremely happy to be a part of that tradition. The other thing is it has a saying on it, "Одна команда исследует вместе," one team exploring together. And that reminds us of the huge team of thousands of people across the globe that make spaceflight a reality. And we are extremely grateful to be a part of that team. And we hope today we can answer your questions and give you kind of an understanding of what we'll be doing up there so that you're inspired enough to follow us and watch us explore together. As far as what we'll be doing up there, we'll be joining Peggy Whitson, Thomas Pesquet, and Oleg Novitsky on orbit, and then Sergei Ryazanskiy, gosh, I can't even think of Comrade's first name. Randy Bresnik, Comrade's his nickname. And Paolo Nespoli will be joining us later in the summer. As far as vehicle traffic, we have two SpaceX vehicles that will hopefully be up there during that time. One orbital vehicle that will be coming. I'm particularly interested in that one because it has my underwear. We have anywhere from none to 4 or 5 EVAs on the USOS side. That still depends on the vehicle traffic. And we also have one Russian EVA during that time frame to test out a new suit, and Fyodor will talk about that. As far as science, we'll probably get into more detailed questions about that later, but just as a big overview, we're at about 210 experiments right now. That'll probably go up to about 300 during the 6 months that we're on orbit. You know, the vast expanse of science and experiments that we've done on the space station over its lifetime is quite extensive, but the basic 4 tenets are off the Earth, for the Earth. So we are trying to benefit humanity in studying everything from medicines to new production techniques and the such. We're also trying to create a thriving commercial market in low Earth orbit, both through science and through the vehicles. We are trying to enable long-duration space flight beyond low Earth orbit, so trying to figure out how we can send astronauts all the way to Mars, both propulsion technologies, human physiology, all of the things and pieces that we need to make that happen. And then probably the most important, and this brings us back to the patch, to enable and serve as a basis for that international cooperation. We need to remember that the space station is arguably the best example of international cooperation in the history of mankind. And we are proud to be a part of it, and we look forward to your questions. Fyodor?
Several lovely words. And first of all, I am very proud, and Jack is one of crew in my command. Yeah, and since my youngest age, I like it space program. I like it everything about space, and I remember very well because I was enough big boy when in 1973 the Soviet Union and the United States began this great program. Soyuz-Apollo program, Apollo-Soyuz program from American. And when Jack told me, then it's his real, the one of greatest program in the world. Yeah, thank you, Jack. Yes, for what reason Jack told we have unusual patch, one team exploring together. About our job, we just a little cut our time now. Thank you, our chiefs, and we began our launch data now end of March. It's possible several possibilities, but we ready for flight because we finished like backup crew member, and from Russian side it's again one progress we will have, and one very special. I hope it's my job, and I hope I, with Sergei Ryazansky, do it this EVA because we should test it its new generation spacesuits, Russian spacesuits, Orlan MKS, and I hope we will have this very interesting, very explore EVA in Russian segment. And of course, we have a lot of medicine tests, geophysical, astrophysical, etc., etc., etc. Thank you.
We'll now take some questions for the crew. We'll start with the media here at Johnson Space Center. Then we'll take questions from other centers, reporters on the phone bridge, and then we'll take some social media questions. If you'd like to ask a question on social media, please use the hashtag AskNASA. For those on the phone bridge, please press *1 if you have a question, and *2 to withdraw your question if it's already been answered. In the room, Mark?
Oh, thank you. Mark Carreau for Aviation Week, and I think this is for Jack. What sorts of activities, operations to further commercial crew do you anticipate, or are you prepared to do? I know things have to arrive at the right time so you can participate, but as you go into this, at this point, what do you foresee or even hope you'll get to do to further that objective?
Well, originally during our increment before we moved, we were supposed to have the demo mission for SpaceX and Boeing. Obviously, those have slipped a little bit, and we've slipped the other direction. So unfortunately, we're completely out of the time frame now. But we've been on the space station involved in activities for quite some time now to move the docking ports around, run all sorts of new lines, new equipment at those docking ports so that we're ready for the new vehicles. We will be doing another one of the planned EVAs that we may have in our increment is to move, well, not move the docking port, it's already been moved, but to shield up. It's actually a fun EVA. They have their own little patch. It's like shields up, Star Trek kind of reference, and that's pretty cool. But we'll be putting shields out there. We have new antennas. I mean, we've been working on this for quite some time. So actually, the space station is in pretty good shape. It's really a matter of getting those vehicles up there. Other than that, other than the actual hardware and physical changes that we've made to the space station, we don't have a lot to do until they actually get up there. And I love AvWeek.
Yes, Robert.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com. You mentioned the change in schedule to crew schedules, you moving up. How did the change of moving up to a sooner launch date, reducing to a size of a two-person crew, affect your training? How's it been going? And as an add-on to that, just flying on the Soyuz, will it be center and left or left and right seats? How do you do a two-person crew?
Well, the boss is always in the center, so he'll be in the center, and you got to be on the left to reach most of the buttons. So I'll be on the left. We're going to be carrying cargo on the right, but we're going to name the cargo Paolo after our old crewmate. Maybe print out a little picture of his head and put it on there. As far as our schedule, obviously, Fyodor has flown. This will be his 5th flight. He doesn't need a whole lot of training. It mostly falls on me. And the complexities of moving the crews around are because not everybody can't be experts at everything. So we share the workload, and Paolo Nespoli, who was in our crew, was a specialist in the Japanese segment and the European segment to offload those from me. Obviously, Fyodor has always been the specialist of the Russian segment and the Soyuz. Now I need to pick those up. So our Japanese partner, our European partners have created condensed programs for me, and we've just kind of shoehorned it all in to the time that we have available. It hasn't been too horrible, and I think I know we'll be ready in time for all the requirements that we need to have done.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Jim Oberg with Soaring Hawk Productions. To follow up on the question which I had, which Robert anticipated as he usually does, for the commander, you're going to a new operations mode with 2 Russians instead of 3. How much more work is that for you, and how will you still distribute the duties in the Russian segment?
Okay, because it's now 2, not 3, we have 1/3 job more. Yeah, 1/3 it 1/6 for one crew member, 1/6 for another one. It should be the same, yeah. But the question is very good, yes, because it's. But you know, the space program, it's very expensive program, yes, and the usual our week, it's 5 days only. The work days, and we have 2 relaxing days. It's usual Sunday and Saturday. For this reason, Sunday and Saturday is again the work day for us, because we have a lot of task lists, and we will work with task lists. It was in my last expedition, it was in my old expedition, but now maybe it's more often I will use task lists, and like each Russian cosmonaut too. And it's the same, it's doing the American astronauts. We use task list.
I didn't catch that.
Task list, it's the task list, yes. Task list, it's the job what ground prefer to do it, but it's not on schedule, because official we have 5 work days, yeah. So, but I may use my own time for these tasks.
What would you like to do on your own time?
It's not enough time on space, because all my flights, the last day, last expedition days, I take, oh my God, I forgot to do it, this one, give me 1 month more, maybe I finished all my jobs, yes, but time is time for another crew member, but usual in, if it's free time, my time, yes. Of course, it's mail, call ground, call my friends, of course, call the family, send mails, take a picture, because it's number 1 for me. I want to take a pictures. The life, it's very changeable. And if it's possible, I would like to each human from Earth planet to check how beautiful Earth planet is from space. And it's the time for task. If you ask me what do task I prefer, of course the first it's technical, like new technology. For example, Russian experiment. It's Kolonovsky crystal. It's very interesting. From new technology experiment. I'm not sure how we will use now the plasma crystal. It's one of the greatest experiment in space station, because it's located now in Columbus, in European model, and I had enough training with this equipment too, but now it should schedule by ESA's MCC. I like it astrophysical, I like it geophysical, of course, a lot of ecological programs, and I working with ecological programs. It's many. Unfortunately, maybe medicine is not prime for me, but I understand very well. It's important for ground and not maybe with big smile, but I continued working with medicine program too.
You become the oldest member.
No, the Paolo coming.
Paolo.
Paolo coming, and Paolo could be Paolo. We hope we met Paolo in space, and he coming for long direction flight. The first first man who flown when he will be exactly 60 years. Yeah, it should be the record for station. I am not so old. Sorry.
You?
I hear you're a bit of a tinkerer. What are you looking forward to doing up there?
Oh, well, I grew up a construction kid. My family and has been in construction for 5 generations now. So building is my thing, and I look forward to almost every activity up there. Sounds interesting. We mentioned Av Week. I can go cover to cover because everything sounds interesting. That's the space station for me. Fixing the toilet sounds exciting to me. It's a space toilet. You're in space, and if you look over the corner, you can see the Earth. I mean, that's just cool. I'm looking forward to doing all these tasks. We mentioned the science. The science is phenomenal, and I look forward to having the opportunity to be a part of something bigger and to contribute something back for society. I know the payload folks have all the different categories. They actually made an acronym. Are you ready for this? It's HOTI. It's after my wife. I didn't spell it quite right, but you have to work with me because it's a cool acronym. You have human health, so all of the things that we're doing to help humans on Earth, from helping with health technology, bone loss, immunizations, and analyzing different ways that we can crystallize proteins. You have Earth observations and disaster prevention. We actually cover, with the space station orbit, 80% of the landmass and 90% of the population on planet Earth. So it gives us a unique ability to, every single 90 minutes, go around the Earth and help from a unique orbit to give those observations back to the Earth. Innovative technology, man, there's no shortage of that. We have we mentioned combustion experiments where, because there's no convection or sedimentation on orbit with microgravity, the flames actually burn outward. So they have unique characteristics. We have an experiment called Cool Flame that looks at that, and we're looking at different ways to have more efficient combustion engines. There's just a lot of applications for that. We're also looking at technologies that can help us as we explore deeper into the cosmos. We have the ability, because of that lack of convection and sedimentation, to create alloys that are much stronger, much lighter, and have much greater characteristics for any application. We also are looking at different technologies for workout gear. We have a thing called Med2, which is our new workout device, because we're not going to have quite as much room as the space station as we go to Mars. So I look forward to working with that. The economic development is huge. Obviously, we mentioned commercial crew, but that's not the end of it. We have an international laboratory that is actually getting science experiments now. NanoRacks is a great example of a business that NASA is a customer of on the space station. So we have this great platform, all the power, all the data, all the things you need to investigate in this very unique environment. And all you got to do is contact a commercial provider and get your stuff up there. So that's exciting. And then, probably the most important to me personally is the inspiration and the education. So education is where it all starts. I remember when I was applying to the astronaut corps, I was at Edwards Air Force Base. I was flying F-22s, I was in a room with 50 engineers, all my control room, and they're like, hey, you know, we hear you're applying. I'm like, absolutely. And they're like, oh, we're very excited about it. I'm like, well, just out of curiosity, how many of you guys, you know, are interested in space? They all raise their hand. I'm like, well, you know, what inspired you to get into this business? And one guy said, well, the moon landing for me. And I said, how many of you guys were inspired to become engineers because of the space program? The entire room raised their hands. So you know, we talk about the benefits of the space station a lot, and you always have to have the hard numbers, but that leveraged effect of inspiration is something you just can't measure. And that's the most important thing that we bring to the fight. This is an exciting time for us, probably the most exciting time in my lifetime, because we're about to make some big steps. We have commercial crew just exploding. We have a commercial enterprise exploding. And we have huge rockets. All the countries have signed on to continue the space station to 2024. And we're looking further and deeper, and it's exciting. So what am I excited about? What am I not excited about?
The education part. We actually have some groups in the audience. We have some of our co-ops and interns, as well as some of the trainers. So
Okay.
Prepare yourself for some hard questions.
Gosh. We just had an exam this morning, and we don't need any more questions from our trainers.
So you young folks, this is a great chance. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
I guess for Mr. Fischer, you
Go
said.
ahead, stand up so we can see.
Oh, lovely. So you said you're married. I'm curious, kind of what goes on when you tell your wife you're going to space for 6 months.
Well, it happened. She's sitting over there. She's the hot blonde chick over there. You know, my wife, and I'm not going to look at her, I'll start leaking, but she has been an Air Force wife for a long time. She's used to me being gone, me being deployed, and a military wife or spouse takes something special. They have to be very strong. They have to be very independent, and we call it the little red hen syndrome in our house. You know, I'm going to do it myself. They just have to be incredibly strong. She's been married to that for a long time, so I don't think there was really any difference whether I'm going getting shot at or getting shot off a rocket. You can ask her, but I think it's about the same. Our relationship hasn't really changed that much. It's just, I'm still chasing a dream, and I couldn't do it without her support. So, no changes.
Maybe I continue this
Yes.
answer if it's possible. Each cosmonaut or astronaut wife, she is not happy with our profession. It's exactly. I may tell you because he is Jack wives, he is Clayton Anderson wives. We flown together in Expedition 15. But each our wife, and we are very lucky and happy.
Absolutely.
It's like small Chinese wall. And we in family, when we sit in family, we know that our wife, it's like small Chinese wall for our family. She saved our family soul. Our wife saved our daughters. We have 2 daughters. Yeah, our child, and we are maybe very happy when we return home and check the home exactly the same, looks like the same, everything on the place. I like it to check the rooms, and my wife, it's like guide for me. Check, it's your daughter's room. She's just a little girl for half a year. It's like this. So we are happy. We have great wives.
Absolutely. And we're both lucky. We have women that are much better looking than us, and way smarter and way better. And we're lucky guys.
And why we go to space? Because we return just a little younger.
There you go. There you go.
Any other questions? Mark.
Thanks, Mark, from Aviation Week again. Can you kind of summarize where you are in your mission training, what's left for you and where to get ready?
Yeah, we have not a whole lot. So when we are the backup crew, we're technically ready to fly. The biggest difference is on my side because I need to get that Delta training for the Japanese segment and the European segment. And then we'll go back and just do our standard exam flow in Russia, in Star City, and then fly. So there's not much left. The only big things were the Japanese and European segment. Also, we haven't had a chance. Normally, we train with the crews that fly before us and after us. We never had the chance to train with Peggy and Oleg and Thomas. And we are just this time getting the chance to train with Randy, Paulo, and Sergey. So that training is a little bit new for us as well. Other than that, it's what we've done.
Because we trained with Paulo.
Well, we trained with Paulo, the soon-to-be oldest guy in space.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, in other words, you were training already for the same seat in the Soyuz?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is one of the reasons why we were able to move forward, because the difference was the smallest. Some of our guys, maybe go from the right seat to the left seat, which is a huge difference and a lot of training.
I think we have some questions on social media. Megan?
We have one on Twitter. Jack, have you been given any great pieces of advice or guidance from your classmates who have already flown?
I don't know. I've gotten certainly advice from my classmates. I think the best advice I've gotten is from Peggy. I'm very lucky. I'm like the cream filling in an Oreo of awesomeness because I have Peggy Whitson on one side and Fyodor Yurchikhin on the other, two extremely experienced people. So I've gotten a lot of advice from Fyodor. I always do. Peggy, I think the best thing she told me was space flight is a gift, and you better take it as that, make the most out of it, and I've certainly tried to, and I will continue to do so.
Thank you. Another one, how long does the entire process take from liftoff to docking?
Well, we hope less. So normally in the past it took 2 days. Then there for a while we were doing 4 orbit rendezvous, so about 6 hours. The new vehicle actually has a system that's like a GPS system that can calculate the state vector without talking to the ground. So if we're, depending on what our launch date becomes, we could conceivably do it in 3 orbits. And once the new Soyuz rocket comes out, you can do it in 2 orbits. So it would be pretty cool to be up on the space station in 3 hours. For us, if we could do it in 4.5, that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Another question on Facebook from Linda. Is it a requirement that astronauts and cosmonauts be fluent in both English and Russian?
Well, I'm not fluent. Fyodor's been doing this for 20 years, so he's a lot better than me. In fact, we were doing the commission, and there's a word spasiba for thank you. And then there's poblagodarit, which is all fancy, and I tried to say that and froze. It's when it comes to speaking about the Soyuz, I can do pretty darn well. When it talks speaking about life or the weather, it gets pretty rusty quick. So it's not a requirement, but absolutely, I would recommend to everyone, every young person in the country, that if you aren't fluent in a language, you better get that way, because the world is getting smaller. When I grew up, and certainly when Fyodor grew up, you didn't need to have multiple languages. We were not as, the world wasn't as small as it is now. Now we need to, and the more languages you can learn, the easier they come. So definitely recommend to the young people to pursue that aggressively pursue that.
Another question on Facebook from L. What experiments are you most looking forward to?
Well, there's a new, I mentioned a lot of them already that I'm excited about. That Med2 sounds fun. There's another one, it's a synthetic bone where it's this new substance that they can use to cast, and it bonds to bones quickly. We've done a lot of work with osteoporosis and how bones regenerate, and calcium supplements, all of those. I think this would be a nice addition to that. I'm very excited about the protein crystals because it gives us a huge opportunity to crystals form perfectly on orbit. So there's no variables due to gravity, that sedimentation that we talked about before. And if you have a perfect model, you can more thoroughly understand the substance and find out how it interacts with diseases. Things are more virulent, viruses are more virulent on orbit, so that also gives you an advantage. We're eliminating some of the variables in studying these medicines and these diseases on orbit that I hope give us an opportunity to find those big discoveries and to cure the diseases that we just haven't been able to on the ground.
So Fyodor, what are you most looking forward to doing again when you go back?
Of course, first of all, it's EVA.
Mm-hmm.
I like this job. It's real cosmonauts and astronauts
Absolutely.
job. Yeah, when we may see the space with wide open eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because from station it's only use illuminators. Yes, it's the first. No, maybe the second. The first of all, of course, it's meeting with crew, and it's the great time, very soul time, very warm time, because the guys went us and known when we coming to station, it's time to finished his expedition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I told you about return to home. It's one of great job for us too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. For experiments, and again, I told you about technological experiments. I like it. I like it Earth observation experiments and check how change some places on the world from last my flight. Yeah, it's sometimes it's terrible. Yeah, because you may check how glaciers it's smallest than in last time, but sometimes, for example, in 2010 the glaciers it was biggest than in 2007. It was good news too. Yeah, and sometimes it's changed. The terrible places, it's the Amazon River and the trees and forest around rainforest around Amazon rivers. It's the humans problem, but we continue this job, we take pictures, and so it's a lot of jobs, and I would like to check again the clouds, because I like to take clouds, and the clouds it's like amazing view in our life, and this is view like the one of child told me that we look the usual clouds, you look the back of these clouds. Yeah, and I thought, yes, it's back of clouds.
Completely different side.
It's different side, yeah. So it's many, and each, and I hope the new flight, like each my flight, give me more surprise, more good views, more good good task for observations, and I have several tasks. I never take a picture with island San Paulo in middle of Atlantic Ocean. It's very small, but each cosmonaut and astronaut like it to take the picture. The NASA's sent the Taj Mahal and then Chinese Wall. It's several tasks. I never take these pictures. Yeah, I tried again, but unfortunately.
Got to keep flying till you
Yeah.
get them.
So what are you looking forward to doing when you get up there, Jack, since it's all new for you?
Well, like I said, just about everything. But if I got to go outside, that would be the ultimate. So I would really like to do an EVA.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Any of his trainers have any hard questions for him?
No, they don't.
Yay.
Come on, man.
It's an easy one. I mean, you guys talked about all of the training and having to compress it, and you go to multiple centers and you do payloads and systems and all of that. Is there any part of your training that stands out, was memorable, good, you know, or funny, or entertaining, or some system that you preferred training on? Just kind of something personal for you guys.
Careful how you answer if you still have exams left, by the way.
Let's see, which instructors are here? I enjoy it because it's all been interesting. It's a lot harder in Russia because I have to flip on the Russian side of my brain, and it's not very big, so I have to work a lot harder there. I think the most fun I have is in the pool. So training for EVAs, I just love getting in the water. So that's probably my favorite.
And for me, now it's the time when we began training, yes, it's a lot of training. It's a lot of emergency scenarios, etc., etc. Now we know it's only a few. It's good news. Only wait just a little, repeat again. It's a few pilot trainings, a few scenarios, and just a little. Terrible time in Russia when we have complex exams. We should pass these exams in Russia. It's two different kind of training here and in Russian side. Yeah, in Russian side, it's more complexable last training. Here we began have this training since we trained, yeah, and so it's easiest for us to finish training here, yeah. In Russia, it's like suppressed, and last one.
And the last one is just a big long. So we go through 7 different exams of all sorts of different types of things, from flying manually, docking, manual descent. You do all sorts of exams, but then the last 2 big ones are a full day in the Russian segment and then a full day in the Soyuz. And if you guys don't know how small it is in the Soyuz or how we sit in the Soyuz, you should look at the picture, because that's a long time to be sitting in the Soyuz getting emergencies thrown at you. So we're getting there.
The fish in can, it's more lucky.
Yes. Well, 2 fish
cosmonauts.
in a can.
3.
The 3 fish.
And our can is smallest.
I think we have a couple more from social media.
We have another one on Twitter. Being able to experience space firsthand is undoubtedly inspiring. What are your hopes for the future of space travel?
Our hopes are, like I said, I want low Earth orbit to be a commercial hotbed of activity, because not that that's easy, but it is something that our infrastructure can support now. As far as the future, I look forward to people my daughter's age going to Mars and the moon, Mars, just for us to take those first steps into the cosmos, permanent steps into the cosmos, is what I am most excited about. And like I said, this is a really exciting time. We have more going on now in space than we have in decades. So it's exciting to see us take those steps and start exploring for real.
Another one on Twitter wants to know about all of your graduation level experience, if you have graduate degrees.
I have a graduate degree in aeronautics and astronautics from MIT. That's the only one I have.
I have several. Yeah, because it's just a little different, because I graduated Moscow Aviation Institute, I graduated Moscow Service University by economics, and I have PhD economics. I graduated, of course, and you too graduated the first level astronauts and cosmonauts level. Yes, we done this. Yeah. Yeah, so it's several, yes. But look here, what is the cosmonaut and astronaut profession? Yes, it's many, many profession in one world. Because each of us, it should be just a little doctor, just a little, but not bad, yeah, because we help each other. Just a little photographer, just a little engineer, just a little worker, scientist, dentist. I don't
true.
know how many profession in one world, cosmonaut or astronaut.
We always say jack of all trades, master of none. We got to be jack of all trades, but we do have to be master of a few. So
Yeah.
it's a little more work.
Thanks. One more on Twitter to follow up on the training. What's the hardest preparation that you've done for this?
Russian grammar.
No, I think for Jack the first it was when he looked me and talk. I think it's my. Oh my God, this is very stupid old man, and I will walk with this very stupid old man.
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, but because for me, not terrible, not difficult, but again and again, because he should understand my techniques. I should understand his levels, yes. And the first time when we walked together, if you remember the first hour training, sometimes we had mistake, both of us, yes, do not understand each other very well. But now he is half of me. I hope I am half of you.
We're an old married couple.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we've been together training for over 2 years.
Yeah.
And so we get each other. We kind of, I know his the way he moves his head or clears his throat or, oh, that means he's not happy. Or so we've learned those things about each other. And I think in the Soyuz, especially because that's been the majority of our training, we've gotten to a point where we're very efficient with just a look, just a grunt, because sometimes I don't know the word, and so we've gotten pretty good at working together, and that is one of the hardest things in training is gelling as a crew.
One team.
One team, exploring together. Booyah.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions in the audience? Yes, ma'am.
For Mr. Fischer, have you been able to try some of the space food that you'll be having in space? Have you had some here now?
I have, and it's pretty awesome. So I was used to deploying, and the first time we deployed, we were pretty much just eating MREs, just a few kinds. So having the 200 plus different options that we have in the kitchen here is amazing. And then we also did a tasting over in Russia of all of their food. And it's like anything. Some of it's awesome. Some of it's, kinda. So you have to go through and make sure you understand which ones you like and which ones you don't. Because even if you're not a picky eater, it's kind of like cigarettes in prison. You want to be able to trade them to your crewmates and, hey, I really like the brownies, so I got some tortilla.
It's my favorite from American side.
It's not only important to know what you like, it's important to know what your crewmates like. So.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So can you tell us a little bit about what is the feeling of what goes through your head when they tell you you're going to go to space, but personally, like you have excitement, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
So for me, obviously it was very exciting when I got selected for a mission. But I'll tell you a story about when they called me to come down to Houston. So I was supposed to deploy to Iraq for a year. And I was home for a couple weeks before that, and that's when we got the call. And so I was actually home My wife and kids and my beagle were home, and we got the call. And you know, we've been waiting, because when you're going through the selection process, it's kind of a nerve-wracking, year-long event of interviews and everything else. So we'd been waiting, and I pick up the phone, and you know, my wife kind of looked at me. Does he look like his dreams are shattered, or is this a good look? And she determined it was a good look. And so then I'm actually talking to the chief of the office, Colonel Lindsay, and we're jumping up and down. I'm trying to cover the phone. We're all hugging, all four of us, and then my little beagle's just jumping on his hind legs around us. So it was a you know, pogo stick of excitement, I guess you could call it. And you know, it's hard to describe. And I look forward to the moment when we light the candle and get booking up to space, and I get to look out that window for the first time. So I think that's when it'll really sink in, and then I'll come back and answer the question again.
Any others? All right, well, thank you for being part of the Expedition 5152 Crew News Conference. You can find Jack on Twitter at @astro_2fish. And you can also follow the crew members' in-flight experiences on Instagram by going to instagram.com/ISS. For more information on the International Space Station, please go to www.nasa.gov/station.